You never give up
They
now.
would soak the fire as you hope to rise. It was mostly lies that you broke inside. I know it's all love, I just gotta complain. I got your back, we gon' rise to the flames. You'll be at it again. I won't let go. I'll be by your side. Won't let you drown. I won't let go. And nothing can stop me. I'm broken. The same old story. It drives you crazy. They put you first in line and we're never around. But still you never give up. You never give up, no. Let's rock you down. Step back and throw it all away. There's pain inside. Face it and throw it all away. I won't let go. I'll be by your side. Won't let you drown. I won't let go. And nothing can stop me.
We've been waiting ever since Crown Jewel for the return of the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Tonight, he graced us with his presence. Roman Reigns was back on SmackDown tonight. It's about damn time. So you can tell we are heading into the Royal Rumble soon. When Roman Reigns resurfaces, like the Loch Ness Monster, he resurfaces here on the show. We did have the return of Roman Reigns tonight, but that was not the only return that we had on SmackDown. We had a main event tonight of Randy Orton one-on-one against Jimmy Uso. After Randy Orton at the beginning of the show made it very clear that he wants a shot at Roman Reigns and his title at the Royal Rumble. We get to the end of the show. We have the Bloodline beating down Roman Reigns. Randy Orton, they're beating down LA Knight. They're outnumbered. It's 3-2. And we get the return of the phenomenal AJ Styles. And AJ, I got to say, we talked about Randy Orton during the Survivor Series review and how Randy Orton looked like he was in the best shape that I've seen him in years, even before we last saw him 18 months ago on TV. He must have hooked up AJ with his guy because AJ was out there looking jacked tonight. But AJ is also out there wearing all black, which should have been a sign. He takes out Roman Reigns with a phenomenal forearm. He takes out the other members of the Bloodline. Randy Orton is staring them down on the floor. LA Knight is staring them down on the floor. And when LA Knight turns around, he gets clobbered by AJ Styles. We had a very surprise twist here at the end of tonight's SmackDown show. Not only did he take out the Bloodline, but he took out LA Knight as well. And then AJ Styles, he takes his leave. He exits the ring. He walks right by the Bloodline, heads to the back. The announcers were wondering what the hell's going on here. Randy Orton had a look on his face like he didn't know what just happened. But we got a little cliffhanger to end tonight's episode of SmackDown. And so now, the question is, what direction are they going in here with AJ Styles? Is he going to play a lone wolf character? We've seen him play that character before in TNA. Does that mean the end of the OC? He's going to go out on his own. I'm not so sure that's what's going on here. I'm not entirely sure about that. Or are we getting, and this is what I'm thinking here, as I had a few minutes to mull it over, and I'm thinking back to the last time that we saw AJ Styles on WWE television. If you remember the reason why he was put out in the first place, it was because he was taken out by the Bloodline. And he was loaded up into an ambulance and he was taken away. But that was right before Fastlane. And we had a match that we were supposed to get at Fastlane, which was going to be AJ Styles and John Cena teaming up to take on Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. But that didn't happen because AJ got taken out first. So who took his place in that match? It was LA Knight. LA Knight took the spot that AJ Styles was supposed to get. And not only that, but he went on to take the spot that belonged to AJ, probably in his mind, at Crown Jewel, challenging Roman Reigns for the undisputed title. That should have been AJ Styles, but he didn't get the chance. And instead, LA Knight got the shot instead. So I have a feeling if we have to come up with explanations for why AJ did what he did and what he's going to say on television next week, and we won't have to wait very long because they're actually taping next week's episode of SmackDown tonight, as we speak, as I speak, and you listen. They are taping next week's episode of SmackDown. I'm sure AJ will offer some kind of explanation on the taping tonight for next week. But I have a feeling that's the kind of the gist of where they're going with this. I'm not looking at this so much as an AJ Styles heel turn. I know some people are going to go, oh, AJ turned heel. I didn't really look at it that way tonight. I don't think it's a heel turn. I think it's more of a tweener type deal. Because he didn't attack Randy Orton. He didn't join the Bloodline. He didn't shake Roman's hand. He didn't beat up Randy Orton. He beat up LA Knight. There's a specific issue that he has with LA Knight. And so now the question is, well, we had Randy Orton challenge Roman Reigns to a title match at the Rumble. It was not made official. We never got the announcement that the match was made official. That was just a challenge that he issued. Are we heading for a four-way at the Royal Rumble for the undisputed title with all four men involved? I don't think so. I think the more likely scenario here is that we're going to end up at some point between now and the Royal Rumble, that we're going to end up getting a triple threat match. And I think the winner of that triple threat match is going to go on to challenge Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble for the championship. And it will still probably end up being Randy Orton, AJ and LA Knight. They'll end up being in the Royal Rumble match. But there is the possibility that AJ Styles could win, and it could be AJ and Roman at the Rumble. Now, what have I been talking about now for weeks and weeks, ever since AJ got put out? Every week I've been waiting for this guy to come back. Oh, maybe this is the week that AJ comes back, and then he wouldn't come back. So now he's finally back, but what I've been talking about is they have to get Roman Reigns on that Elimination Chamber show. He's not been officially announced for it. There's no reason for him not to be on that show. It's going to be a big show. They have 45,000 tickets already sold. They're going to have easily over 50, maybe 60,000 people in Perth for that pay-per-view in February. And Roman Reigns was in Montreal this year at the Elimination Chamber defending against Sami Zayn after he defended against Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble. There is no reason for Roman Reigns not to be on both of those pay-per-views heading into WrestleMania. So you can get Randy Orton and Roman Reigns in the main event of Elimination Chamber. They're going to need a big match on that show, right? Other than the Chamber. There you go. So it could go either way. It could go either way. But I think a triple threat match to decide the number one contender, I think that's what we're looking at here. I don't think it's going to be a fatal four-way type situation. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what explanation AJ offers on TV. But I did like that little cliffhanger ending there. It was something that people weren't expecting. And that's really the whole point. You want to get people to tune into the show next week to find out what the hell's going on. So I thought it was effective in that respect. But that was not the only thing we had on the show tonight. We also had two matches, first-round matches in the United States Championship Tournament. We had Grayson Waller challenging the debuting Carmelo Hayes from NXT, and we had Kevin Owens against Austin Theory. And I will say that Austin Theory wrestled his ass off on this show, even if it sounded like the crowd didn't care. That was the best Austin Theory match, bell to bell, that I've seen in forever. He didn't win, but he had a hell of a match. And Carmelo Hayes, I thought, had a hell of a debut tonight, too. The most important thing is he won. I don't think he's winning the entire tournament, but he won. You don't want to debut the guy in the opening round and bounce him out of the first round, right? He had to get that win under his belt. And now it sets up a great match that I'm looking forward to for next week between Kevin Owens and Carmelo Hayes. But unfortunately, we also had some bad news on the show tonight. We did get an update on the condition of Charlotte Flair. Now, if you remember, Charlotte Flair and Asuka had a match on TV last week, and there was a little mishap during the match. It happened during the commercial break. We got a replay of it tonight. They fell off the top rope. I don't know if it was a superplex spot. I don't know what the idea was, but they fell off the top rope. Charlotte took a nasty spill, and her leg kind of bounced off the top rope, and then she landed awkwardly on the way down. She was limping. It did not look like she was working. It looked like she hurt her knee. We just didn't know how serious it was. And the fact that we didn't get any update all week long, other than they sent her home to Florida to be evaluated by doctors. As soon as you hear something like that, you know that it's not going to be good news. It's just a matter of, is it bad or is it bad? Unfortunately for her, it's bad. and they announced on commentary that she is going to be out for 9 months. They did not say exactly what the injury is. Obviously, it's a leg injury. That sounds like an ACL injury, right? That's usually a 6 to 9 month thing. And it sucks for her because that guarantees that she's out of WrestleMania. If that timeline holds, she's out of SummerSlam too. I mean, we're looking at maybe September when she's able to come back. And I hate seeing anybody get hurt. That's an awful situation. It affects other people potentially now heading into WrestleMania, which we'll talk about. But what's remarkable to me is the fact that Charlotte Flair has now been around. She's been on the main roster now going back to 2015. And we are heading into, I guess, what will be her 9th year on the main roster. And in all the years that she has been on TV, I cannot remember her being out with any significant injury. I mean, she's had time off for different issues before, but I believe this is her first major injury of her career. And it's pretty remarkable to me, not just because it's been almost 9 years, but she's always doing those moonsaults. And she does the corkscrew moonsaults from the ring to the floor, always landing on her feet. And yet here, it didn't happen on a moonsault. It happened on a freak accident because they fell off the top rope. But unfortunately, that is the update on Charlotte Flair. This is your Friday Night SmackDown review for December 15th, 2023. I am the Solomonster. Bully the Clown joining us here tonight on the stream. Welcome, Bully and Bobbert. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the $30, and thank you for the Hanukkah message. I appreciate that very much. As you can tell, super chats are open, so get them on in if you would like to support, and I will read your messages as we go along here. Subscribe, like the video. If we get to 400, we will be the booker later on in the stream. And I want to thank Lady Fire Panda for gifting 20 channel memberships before we went live tonight. So thank you to Fire Panda. And again, get those likes up. If we get to 400, we'll do our Be the Booker segment later on in the stream. Well, it was back to work tonight for the champion. No more lounging out on his ass. Roman Reigns was back on SmackDown tonight for the first time since Crown Jewel. The undisputed champion, now they said at 1,202 days. Very impressive, considering he's defended the title, 5 times this year? Maybe? Very impressive. We had Roman Reigns opening the show with Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, and Jimmy Uso. Roman told the crowd to acknowledge him, and then he told the people to shut their mouths. And he says that it's the holiday season, and he is here to celebrate. He says it's promotion season. And he's a great boss. He's a fair tribal chief. Tonight, it's about one man. He says, this man has bent over backward. I could stop the sentence there. I don't know where this was going. He said, this man has bent over backwards for the bloodline. This man has sacrificed everything. And God forbid, he said, if anything ever happens to him, this man is the next in line. This man is the next tribal chief. He said, Jimmy, join me in congratulating your brother Solo. And you could see, like, Jimmy Uso was standing behind Roman the entire time, and he was smiling, right? He was licking his chops because he thought Roman was talking about him. And then he gets this bomb dropped on him that, in fact, he's not talking about him. He's talking about his brother. So Roman went over and he gave Solo a hug, and he told him he loved him. And Jimmy looked all disappointed. Randy Orton's music hit, and he walked out. The WWE apparently wanted to give Randy Orton new music when he came back. And they talked about it, and Orton said, not interested. He nixed the whole thing. He shut that shit down quickly, which was the right decision. Randy Orton's theme music should not be changed. Not now, anyway. That would be very stupid. So as Orton made his way out, what did they do? They cut to a commercial break. What a perfect time to cut to a commercial break. We come back from the break. Orton says that for 18 months, he has been thinking about this moment right here. He has been thinking about what is he going to do? What is he going to say? The only thing he really needs to say to Roman is that he is coming for him. He says he took 18 months away from him, so he is going to take everything from Roman Reigns. and he doesn't care which one of his family members he has to go through. It starts tonight, and it ends at the Royal Rumble because he is challenging Roman to a match for the WWE Championship. Look who it is. Look who it is. Oh, my goodness. The Cody Pyro Bomb.
ABK. Always be killing it.
Always be killing it. ABK dropping a Cody Rhodes Pyro Bomb early here on a Friday night. ABK has just, he's cleared the floor here. All of his challengers have been cleared from the deck. A $411 super chat says, so I'm Roman Reigns. Acknowledge me, Solo. That's right. I said, we were talking about ABK the other night. He was not, well, he may have been joining us on the Dynamite stream. I don't know. We didn't hear from him, but we were talking about him. And I don't remember who brought this up, but I said, if anybody is the Roman Reigns here on these streams, it's ABK. So ABK, I acknowledge you. You get my acknowledgement. ABK, thank you for the 400 bomb. Shit. That's how you do it, man. That's how you do it right there. We're talking about the tribal chief here. Roman said from the sound of the fans, it sounds like he deserves it. He says, Randy, according to the people here, it sounds like you deserve a shot at the title. He goes, what did he say? 18 months you've been thinking about this? Well, he hasn't been thinking about him at all. Said that Orton hasn't done anything to deserve this opportunity, so he could go to the back of the line where he belongs. So why don't you go ahead and do what you do and listen to those voices that are going off? It's not 2007 anymore. I'm levels above everybody else. And you, of course. Those voices in your head are telling you to get out of the ring. Go. Leave. Leave the tribal chief alone. Because if they get in the ring together, he said it's going to be retirement for Orton, and this time he ain't ever coming back. So Randy Orton says, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe Roman is right. Roman is no longer a historical champion. You, sir, are a legend. He said he's also changed this time off that he's had. But the one thing Randy Orton will always and forever be is a legend killer. Then he went for an RKO. Roman, though, shoved him off, and he fell to the ground. He was looking up at Orton. Orton said that maybe Roman should start thinking about him. And he said, hold on, I'm getting something from these voices that I hear. And you know what they're telling me? They're telling me that, Roman, you might have just crapped your pants. And one more thing, they also said, Daddy's back. Now, we rarely get to see Randy... well, not Randy, but Roman Reigns. Randy Orton just came back, and we rarely get to see Roman Reigns on television anymore. So this actually felt like a fresh face-off, but this is the first time, I will say, we've been through this all year long, where Roman Reigns will be around for a while, and then he'll vanish. And he'll vanish for weeks or months at a time. And I say this as somebody who was a huge fan of most of the Bloodline stuff that we got last year into the early part of this year. There were a lot of great Bloodline segments, and there was some really compelling stuff with Jey Uso and with Sami Zayn. That was when the Bloodline hit its peak. Now we're at a point where this is the first time I felt Roman comes back, and that feeling just isn't there anymore. There used to be that feeling of, okay, he's been gone for a while, now he's back, it's a different vibe, right? You get that special feeling. This is the first time where I was like, this was the same Roman Reigns segment when he comes back that we've gotten 1,000 times before. Instead of LA Knight, instead of Kevin Owens, it's Randy Orton, but it's the same thing. There was nothing special about it. And that feeling, I feel like, is gone. At least for me, it is. I didn't get that same feeling I usually do when Roman comes back. It feels like a big deal. It felt less so tonight. Orton laid down the challenge, though, in this segment for the Royal Rumble. They have not yet made it official. I don't think they're going to because, again, there's some storyline reasons for that. I don't think they're going to make it official for a while. But it is the logical match. And it was the match that we were supposed to get at SummerSlam last year, 18 months ago. The main event of SummerSlam in 2022 was supposed to be Randy Orton against Roman Reigns. And we were robbed of that. And so now, I still think in the end, we're going to get it, but 18 months later at the Royal Rumble. We got a Carmelo Hayes video package ahead of his SmackDown debut tonight against Grayson Waller. This was a first-round match in the United States Championship Tournament. Waller wrestled Hayes in his final NXT match back in April. He broke his leg in that match, which is why all we saw Grayson Waller doing once he got drafted was doing talk show segments because he was still getting over a broken leg. Hayes hit a nice drop kick to gain an early edge. If you are not familiar with Carmelo Hayes, and I'm sure most of you are, but for those of you who are not, he has been one of the star attractions of the, quote-unquote new NXT for a while now. Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes are kind of the two main faces. We're going to see Braun and Carmelo in a lot of matches on the main roster for many years to come. Trick Williams is another one who you'll need to keep an eye on because he's going to be a big, big star when he eventually gets called up to the main roster as well. But Carmelo Hayes, the only thing that Carmelo Hayes might not have going for him is his size. He is not a big guy. He's not a tall guy. I don't see that as being a huge hindrance for him, especially if Triple H is booking the show. I think he's going to have a very nice career for himself on the main roster. He's a tremendous talent. And so getting him on SmackDown, I don't know if this is officially his full-time call-up or not. There is still an ongoing story on NXT with him and Trick Williams that has yet to be resolved. And frankly, I think that we're headed for a match, probably WrestleMania weekend between those two. So by no means is Carmelo Hayes done with NXT. But this was his first introduction here to the main roster and the main roster audience on SmackDown. And I thought he did a fine job. Waller did slow things down. Hayes, though, worked his way back with a fadeaway. Waller rolled outside and then rolled back in. Hayes clotheslined him back out over the top, and that took us into a commercial break. When the show came back, Waller was in control. He had a headlock on Carmelo Hayes. Hey, Gabriella, hello. It's good to see you. So they showed a replay of a spot that took place during the commercial break when Waller took control. It's a sweet double stomp. So Hayes was coming into the corner, charging in, and Waller popped up into the air. And as he came down with both feet, and he double stomped his face first right into the ground. So I thought that was great. Hayes came, he tweaked his knee. I should also say, by the way, that he tweaked his knee on a landing. He came off the ropes for a springboard something. I don't know what he was going for, but Waller moved out of the way. When he landed on his feet, he kind of sold his knee, like maybe he tweaked his knee. He was selling it for a few seconds. At the same time, Waller had rolled out of the ring, and he does that thing where he dives back into the ring through the bottom rope and the middle rope. So he dives back into the ring, and he connects on a rolling flatliner, got a near fall out of that. Hayes fought back. He went to the top. Waller, though, cut him off, and Grayson Waller hit the best-looking playmaker that I think I've ever seen. I mean, it looked great, and here's the thing about it. They showed a replay of it, and the way that Hayes took it had as much to do with it as anything, because he sold this like death. I mean, when you watch him execute this move, it looked like he got spiked right on top of his head. But they showed a replay of it, and he could not have taken it any safer. Like, his head didn't even touch the mat. So it looked great. He took it great. Didn't win the match with it. Did kick out, but I thought that spot looked great. So Hayes came back with a springboard DDT. For the finish, though, he came off the top rope with that leg slice he calls nothing but net. He pinned Waller to win and to advance onto the next round of the tournament. So I thought this was a great debut for him. These two have worked together many times before in NXT. And so they already had a certain familiarity with each other. I'm sure that helped. Everything looked smooth. Everything looked fine. It didn't look like, it's his first time on the main roster and they haven't been in the ring together before. That wasn't an issue here at all. And I will tell you now, I guarantee you this will not be the last time we see these two in the ring together on the main roster. And we will see them on a pay-per-view at some point. I mentioned Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. We'll see them on pay-per-view in the future, too. We're going to see these two a lot more down the road. More importantly, though, Carmelo Hayes got the win. And that was very important. Because if the idea was to call him up in this tournament only to have him get bounced out of the opening round, I don't see how that really benefits him. Having him win at least one match against the main roster talent and then go on, and if he loses in the semifinals, which he probably will, that's fine. Because now he is set up to wrestle Kevin Owens on the show next week, which is going to be an excellent match. And there's certainly no shame in losing to Kevin Owens. So I like the fact that not only did he, look great in the match and he had a great showing, but he got the win. And he got the win with his finish. It wasn't a fluky thing like a roll up or we know how fond they are of their roll up finishes, like a flash pin. No, he beat him clean in the middle with his finish, and I think that was exactly the way to go with this match here. So now we get to see Owens and Hayes in the ring next week. And I cannot wait to see them. I was looking forward all week to seeing Moxley and Swerve on Dynamite. And they had a great match. And so I'm expecting the same from these two next week. In the back, Randy Orton was walking and he finds LA Knight. They were partners last week, and LA Knight offered to help because we all know how the numbers work with the Bloodline. And Randy said, hey, look, you and me, we're good, right? And LA Knight says, yeah, you and I are good. And Orton says, well, let's keep it that way. And in order to do that, you need to stay out of my way. And Knight said, look, if anybody is taking everything from Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, it's going to be me. Speaking of Kevin Owens, we had Kevin Owens on this show. Kevin Owens and his broken hand. Up next against Austin Theory in another first-round match in the U.S. title tournament. Do like how we have dueling tournaments going on at the same time. We have the Continental Classic on AEW television, and we have the U.S. title tournament here on WWE television. Logan Paul cut a picture-in-picture promo that they aired during Theory's entrance, and he spent most of it, we put Theory over, but he spent most of it mocking Kevin Owens and his physique and how he looks. Says he dresses like a fifth grader playing dodgeball. Owens should stitch the sleeves back onto his shirt, he said. Owens had control early and landed a senton. He sold his broken hand. Theory rolled to the outside. The two of them fought on the apron until Owens kicked Theory to the floor, and then he came flying off, did Owens with a cannonball. He rolled Theory back inside. Two of them fought back out on the apron, and Theory delivered a Death Valley driver on the apron, and that took us into another commercial break. The show came back. Two of them were on top. They were battling each other until Owens headbutted Theory to the mat. Owens then hit a big frog splash, but on his way down, came crashing down on that hand. And so he stalled for a while as he sold the hand. Owens went back up to the top and tried for a senton, but Theory got the knees up. Shout out, by the way, to all of our new subscribers, including Ms. Marjorie. Welcome. And Legendary Beast as well. You see who that is on screen right there? Mercedes. You see Sasha Banks? Guess what? I think we're going to be seeing her back on SmackDown before long. That's where I think her landing spot is going to be. Bayley is going to need a buddy soon. I think we all know who that's going to be. So Theory ran at Owens. Owens got a boot up. And from there, Owens stomped a mud hole in this guy. He went to the top. Theory cut him off, though, with a springboard Spanish fly. And Theory then went for a superplex. Owens countered into a fisherman buster. Theory rolled to the outside after the hard landing. Once Owens followed him outside, Theory knocked him over the barricade. He got back in the ring, and he told the referee to count. Right? Look, a count-out win is just as good as a pinfall win. It's just as good as a disqualification or anything else. It gets you into the next round. So he would have happily taken a count-out win here. Owens, though, barely made the count back in before 10. And he ran into a rolling blockbuster for a near fall. They went to the top again. Lost count of how many times these two went to the top rope here in this match. Owens slipped out and he pushed Theory forward. So Theory ended up kind of crotching himself and then he fell backwards into a tree of woe. And Owens followed up with a cannonball into the corner and then a swanton from the top. Only got a near fall out of it. Owens went for a stunner. Theory, though, kicked his hand, the bad hand. And the two of them went to the outside. Theory then slammed Owens' broken hand into the ring post. Then he stomped on it on the ring steps. Back inside, Theory ran at Owens, and Owens responded with a punch to the injured hand, which had a cast on it, and knocked Theory out. So he hit Theory with the cast, is what happened here, and he knocked the fucker out. And then he had this look on his face like he was surprised, like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't realize I could do that. So then he scampered over and he covered Theory, and he picked up the win. And that puts Kevin Owens into the next round of the U.S. title tournament here. After he got the pin, Owens had a look on his face like he just realized, hey, this thing may come in handy for me going forward. I'll tell you what, Austin Theory, he may be boring as hell right now. There really is nothing to get excited about when Austin Theory is on the television screen, right? There's just nothing there. Charismatically, personality-wise, yeah, he's a heel and people like to boo him. Not like they like to boo Dominic, but he's a basic heel. But there's just nothing terribly exciting about watching Austin Theory. But I will say, one thing I've never had anything bad to say about Austin Theory about is his in-ring work. And this is as good of a match as I've seen him have in a long time. He was out there. He looked like he was just a man possessed. This is a great match for Austin Theory, even though he lost and he got beat. But he had a great match here. I can't say otherwise. And now next week, here's the thing about the broken hand. We have Owens against Carmelo Hayes next week. Owens is the right person to go to the Royal Rumble and challenge Logan Paul. And I do believe it will be Logan Paul against Kevin Owens. Could it be Carmelo Hayes? Could they use the bad hand as an excuse for Hayes to end up getting a win over Owens, and then he gets the match with Logan Paul at the Royal Rumble? It's possible. It's unlikely. It's unlikely and it's unnecessary. Carmelo Hayes loses nothing if he beats Grayson Waller this week and then goes on to have a competitive match and fall just a little bit short to someone like Kevin Owens. It's still a great way to introduce him to the main roster audience. Kevin Owens then goes to the Royal Rumble. I think what we end up with is the battle of the hands here, where you have Kevin Owens realizing he's got a secret weapon, or maybe a not-so-secret weapon, in the cast on his hand. Logan Paul, his whole thing is the right hand, right? The knockout shot. That's what we end up with at the Royal Rumble. I think that's what they're doing with this broken hand story, right? Hand for hand. So I think we're still going to get Owens and Logan Paul at the Royal Rumble, and that would be the correct match to do. Shout out to everybody joining here on a Friday night, including all of our new subs. Welcome, welcome. ABK, again, you are the fucking man. Thank you for that gigantic super chat. And we're going to be getting to all your messages a little bit later on, so get them on in and hit that like button. See that little thumbs up right there? You see that little guy right there on your screen? Just hit that. That's all you got to do. In the Bloodline locker room we go. Roman Reigns was upset that Randy Orton ruined their celebration earlier on. Jimmy said that he could silence Orton, but this sounds like something that the tribal heir, like Solo, should be taking care of. And Roman said, what, are you kidding me? It's promotion season. Says, if you could handle Randy Orton alone, just imagine what's in store for you. Imagine what that could mean for you, right? You could be anything, right? Says, you understand me? And Jimmy said, yeet. And Roman didn't like that very much. And Jimmy said, no yeet. It is amazing to me how much of a clown they have turned Jimmy Uso into. I'm not even saying he's not entertaining. He's almost been reduced to the role of R-Truth. We have R-Truth back on Raw. Jimmy Uso has become, in some ways, the R-Truth of SmackDown. And it might be entertaining. I don't know that that's necessarily the best thing for Jimmy Uso, But again, I look back at that whole story that unfolded with the Usos and everything that happened, and then him screwing over his brother at SummerSlam, and Jimmy is just back. There were people at the time who were saying Solomonster. It's all part of a plan. Jimmy is trying to infiltrate the bloodline, and his goal is to convince Solo Sikoa to break away from Roman Reigns, and Roman doesn't care about him, and he's only going to turn on you and kick you in the dirt. It's all part of a plan. Really? Well, we haven't seen that plan unfold just yet. Seems to me like they're just buying time until we get to the Royal Rumble, and then we get back to Jimmy and Jay, because the two of them want to have a WrestleMania match together, which is what we're going to get next year. But the whole story arc here for Jimmy Uso sucks. Entertaining as he may be, it sucks. We got the latest spooky video package for Karrion Kross. He said the world as we know it is about to be recycled. Well, at least we know he recycles. And his debut on SmackDown set everything in motion. And we saw Scarlett burning some tarot cards, and Kross said that everyone would find out what he was talking about soon. So this is their latest attempt to try something with Karrion Kross. Is it going to take this time? I hope so. I hope so. I truly do. For his sake, and the sake of anybody who watches the show, I would like to think that hopefully this time it'll actually take. But what's not encouraging to me is the fact that he's just playing the same character he's been playing here since day one, which is exactly the opposite of what I think he needs. I've talked about the fact what they were doing with him hasn't worked. He's not connecting with the audience. Try something different. The guy has a personality. Use him and Scarlett, frankly. Use them both more. Use them in a different way. Maybe it'll work. Instead, it looks like they're going back to the same well. Now, I've seen some rumors that maybe they're going to bring it. This is going to be their way to reintroduce the Authors of Pain. And maybe there's going to be a little faction going on. Kross is going to lead a group with AOP. We'll see. You know, I don't know. I don't know that that's going to make much of a difference. We'll see. But again, for his sake, I certainly hope that this time, whatever they're going to try with him actually works. Because this is what is this now? The third or fourth time they're trying something with this guy? I know Triple H likes him. He's going to give him every opportunity to succeed. I just don't know that going back to the same well, with the same character, is going to make a difference. Now, Kevin Owens was backstage, and he bumped into Cameron Grimes, who congratulated him on his win and wished that it could have been him punching Theory in the face. Kayla Braxton approached Owens and asked him about facing a first-time opponent next week in Carmelo Hayes. Owens compared Hayes' debut to his when he debuted back in 2015 and went face-to-face with John Cena. Hayes walked up beside him and said, "Hey, look, I've got a ton of respect for you. You've done it all. You've won it all. But I need this tournament win more than you do. And you're not going to little bro me." And then he walked off. Not going to little bro me. Kevin Owens and Carmelo Hayes is going to be a fucking great match next week. And I look forward to watching that. So at this point, the announcers threw it to a replay from last week's match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka. And the spot where they fell off the top rope and Charlotte hurt her leg. This is where they confirmed that Charlotte suffered an injury that will keep her out for up to 9 months. They did not specify ACL, but that sounds like an ACL. Could be more than an ACL. Could have been an ACL and an MCL and a PCL and a PFL. We don't know. But obviously it's serious enough that she's going to be gone for a long time. So no Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, and it sounds like no Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam either. And not only does it suck for Charlotte Flair, because I hate to hear anybody getting hurt like that. I wish that on nobody. But it doesn't just suck for Charlotte Flair. I think it also sucks for Bianca Belair. Because I think whether it was one-on-one or it was going to be a four-way for the title with Bayley and Io involved, could have been any number of scenarios playing out. But I do think Charlotte and Bianca would have been working against each other at WrestleMania. And that would leave Bianca Belair now without an obvious opponent on the biggest show of the year. So the question is, with Charlotte being out, What do you do with Bianca Belair? Right, we see the damage control story playing itself out. We know Bayley is not going to be long for this world as a member of Damage Control. We know what's coming. We don't know when, but we know it's coming. And so it could be a situation where Bayley has to be one of the favorites. Bayley and Becky are the two favorites right now, as far as I'm concerned, to win the Women's Royal Rumble. It's either Becky or Bayley. There's no other obvious favorite right now for that Women's Rumble match. But Bayley could be wrestling Io. If Io holds on to that title long enough, it could be Bayley and Io at WrestleMania. Do you put Bianca in there and just make it a triple threat match because you got nothing better for her to do? Are they going to rush Jade Cargill, perhaps, up to the main roster? I still think we'll get it. I think we're going to get a Jade cameo in the Women's Rumble, regardless of whether or not she gets called up full time. Maybe they call her up a little bit quicker, with the idea that we're going to get her in the ring with Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. We'll do Bianca against Jade. Is that a possibility? I think it's possible. I don't know how smart it is. Apparently, she's coming into the Performance Center 1 or 2 days a week to train. I don't know how much training you're going to get in a day or two per week that's going to get you to where you need to be that quickly. But yeah, it's a possibility, I guess. I mentioned Sasha Banks a little while ago. I think she's going to end up back in WWE. If she is, she's a free agent right now, as far as we know. If she's coming back to WWE, it's going to be in time for the Royal Rumble. Where does Sasha end up? At WrestleMania, if she comes back. Maybe she'll work with Bianca again. We just don't know. But I do think Bianca is probably without an opponent now. They're going to have to figure out something for her. They have time, but it sucks for her too. So we go from a spooky Karrion Kross vignette earlier to a spooky Damage Control vignette in the back with smoke. We had smoke. Bayley said last week we saw the reason the Damage Control was formed in the first place. To take over the entire WWE women's division. She said Io is already the women's champion and the Kabuki Warriors would win the women's tag team titles, and she herself is entering the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble match. She would go on to win the Women's World Championship from Rhea Ripley. So making it very clear, I'm not going to win the Royal Rumble and go after Io. I'm going to go after Rhea Ripley. I don't know what the spookiness and the smoke and everything was all about. The way they shot this, it was bizarre. You know what it felt like at the end of the promo? They had these like really tight shots of their faces and they showed Bayley and she was laughing. It looked like a collection of like Marvel villains coming together, hashing some kind of evil plot. I don't know. It didn't seem to really fit this group. It was weird. But we had Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, reunited as a tag team, taking on Zelina Vega and Michin. The match was joined in progress after the commercial break. The Kabuki Warriors were in control on Michin. Kairi landed a sliding elbow in the corner, followed by a flying forearm. Got a 2 count out of it. Asuka tagged in, and both Kairi and Asuka, they hit sliding strikes. Michin attempted to break free. Got pulled down by her hair. Asuka missed the back fist. Michin rolled her up for a 2 count. And then Michin managed to break free with a suplex. Kairi tagged in. Zelina, though, made a tag. And Zelina hit a hammerlock DDT on Kairi. And she set up for the 619. Kairi, though, managed to avoid it and hit a back fist. Asuka tagged back in. And she applied an Asuka lock on Zelina, but Zelina escaped by turning over into a pinfall. Didn't get the pin, though. Michin tagged in and landed a spine buster on Asuka. She covered, but Kairi broke it up, and then Vega got involved. Vega, though, got taken to the floor. And Zelina got dropped. I mean, she got picked up and powerbombed, basically, onto the announce desk by Kairi. Inside, Michin climbed to the top rope, but Bayley ran down and shoved her off the top rope. Referee didn't see it because the referee was taken and distracted by Dakota Kai. And Asuka then landed a kick, and Kairi hit the insane elbow, the most beautiful elbow in all of professional wrestling, and she picked up the win for the Kabuki Warriors. The crowd was nearly dead silent for most of this. This was not just the problem in this match, though. This crowd was quiet for a lot of things on this show. This was not the liveliest bunch in Green Bay tonight, but they were especially quiet for this match. Kairi and Asuka being put back together as the Kabuki Warriors, to me, makes sense. They need teams for their so-called women's tag team division, of which right now there is none. So you put them back together. They should win the tag team titles, right? Bring the gold into Damage Control. They already have the women's championship on SmackDown. Let Kairi and Asuka bring in the women's tag team titles. Why not, right? Bayley will be the only one without a title. So the idea is that we have the tag titles, we have the WWE women's title, Dakota's still hurt, so she can't wrestle, and then there's Bayley. Bayley then is like, well, I have to win the Royal Rumble. So that way I can beat Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, and I'll bring the women's world title, and we'll have all the gold in Damage Control. So go ahead and put the tag team titles on Kairi and Asuka, because why not? Right? Keeping them on Chelsea Green and Piper Niven ain't doing shit. So you may as well. May as well put them on Damage Control. After the match, oh, the Judgment Day. See, as soon as I said Rhea Ripley, I should have known it was coming. Motherfucker. Bobbert Reviews, thank you for the $32, man. Always with the Judgment Day interruptions, man. You can't escape it. As soon as I said Rhea's name, I should have known it was coming. After the match, Jimmy Uso was shown backstage. He was talking to Solo Sikoa. Jimmy said, you know, something doesn't feel right. And his fear was that this felt like a setup. And he asked Solo, he said, look, you would tell me if something was going to happen to me, right? You would let me know. And Solo took a while before he responded. He was looking at his thumb, his taped up thumb. And all he would say to Jimmy is, I'm your brother. Which doesn't mean shit. I mean, I've beaten my brother up before. What the hell does that mean? You're my brother. That doesn't mean anything. If I'm Jimmy Uso, I'm watching. I'm growing eyes behind the back of my head. I don't trust this guy. I'm your brother. That just makes it more likely that he's going to attack him. Look what Jimmy did to Jay at SummerSlam. Jimmy, of all people, should know I'm your brother is no guarantee of any kind of protection. We got a Santos Escobar vignette. He talked about how Rey Mysterio, once upon a time, ripped away his chance to become the United States champion. And now he's facing Bobby Lashley in the U.S. title tournament next week. They cut to a backstage Lashley promo. He was flanked by the Street Profits standing behind him. Lashley talked about facing Escobar. Montez Ford chimed in. He said that Escobar has no chance against Lashley. And Lashley said that Escobar is only standing in his way. The main event was Randy Orton, one-on-one with Jimmy Uso. They went to a break not 60 seconds into this match. I got to tell you, I really hate this formula on these WWE shows. It happens on Raw every week. It happens on SmackDown, where the match begins and not 60 to 90 seconds later, we go to commercial. I know it happens on AEW television also. I feel like not as much, but it just sort of became this accepted formula where, okay, we're going to start a match, and then 60 seconds later, we're going to go right to commercial. And it's like that every single week in almost every single segment. It is the most annoying thing. I wish they would just change things up a little bit, right? Shake up that formula, shake up the format a little bit. Come on, I know you guys can do it. There's no harm in shaking things up. In fact, maybe next week on the stream, maybe what I'll do is we'll start with Be the Booker. And then we'll get into the Super Chat. Then we'll get into the review. We'll flip the whole thing upside down, right? Just to shake things up a little bit. Why not? Would you like a little wrestling with... I like that, yeah. That's what it feels like. Would you like a little wrestling with your commercials? Would you like a little wrestling with your commercials? That's right. It's true. It's true. We'll sprinkle a little wrestling in between your commercial breaks. So Orton rolled Jimmy back in for a 2 count. This was after they came back from the break. Orton was outside, and he dropped Jimmy on top of the announce desk. The first thing we saw. So he rolled him back into the ring. Jimmy, though, took control with an enziguri and a hip attack on Orton in the corner. Jimmy started doling out some punches in the corner until Orton cut him off with a good old-fashioned thumb to the eye. Works like a charm every single time. Just stick your thumb in that guy's eye, and there ain't going to be much that he can do. Orton set up for the draping DDT. Jimmy, though, back body dropped him outside, and we got a commercial break. I shit you not. But at least it was the last one of the show. So the show came back. Jimmy still had control until he ran into some clotheslines. Orton hit a snap power slam. Jimmy found himself on the apron. So, of course, Orton hits the draping DDT. Orton set up for the RKO, but Solo Sikoa's music interrupts. And Solo makes it not even halfway. He's still on stage. He doesn't even make it halfway down the aisle. We hear LA Knight's theme music. And LA Knight comes out, attacks Solo, puts him down. Meanwhile, in the ring, Orton lays out Jimmy with an RKO. And he picks up the win. After the match, Knight started to walk to the ring. He and Orton were kind of staring at each other. And, Knight was kind of laughing and smiling. He was having a good time. As he's walking to the ring, he gets ambushed from behind by Roman Reigns. Knocks him down. Orton's in the ring. He's just standing there, and he's watching this. And he locks eyes with Roman. Orton's getting all hyped up. Roman's looking up at him. Finally, Roman charges into the ring. The two of them start slugging it out until Jimmy attacks Orton from behind. Now it is 2 against 1. Knight comes back into the ring. He comes to his aid, but Solo attacks LA Knight. Now it's 3 against 2. And so the Bloodline has the numbers advantage. They have the upper hand until we hear AJ Styles' theme music. They don't want none. They don't want none. So Roman Reigns is in the ring. He's looking down the aisle. He's waiting for him. So, of course, if Roman is standing there and he's looking that way, then by WWE logic, there's somebody standing directly behind him. And that's exactly what happened. We had AJ Styles standing on the apron. He was getting ready for the phenomenal forearm. And I get that sometimes, it can be hard to time it just right, where it doesn't look completely ridiculous that your opponent is just standing there waiting for you. But in this case, Roman turns and AJ wasn't quite ready yet. And so Roman Reigns had to stand there like his feet were glued to the mat and he was unable to move. And he stood there and he waited and he got taken out, got wiped out by a phenomenal forearm. Now the baby faces have evened the odds, right? Now it's 3 against 3. And AJ takes out the other Bloodline members. And just as Randy Orton and LA Knight, they're looking at the Bloodline who are now in the aisleway. And LA Knight turns around and what happens? He gets wiped out by a clothesline by AJ Styles. A little surprise twist here at the end of the show. Orton is just watching this. He can't make heads or tails out of what he's seeing. AJ had this just pissed off look on his face. He exits the ring. He walks right past Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, and he goes to the back. And the announcers are wondering, on commentary, they're just thinking, well, what the hell did we just see here? And that's how they went off the air. So that was unexpected. I don't think anybody saw that coming. That was an unexpected little twist there at the end. The match was nothing special as a main event. It was a match. But I have been waiting for AJ Styles to come back now for a number of months. Ever since they did the injury angle with him. And really ever since Survivor Series, I've been waiting. It's been kind of like any week now, we'll get AJ back on TV. And so we finally got him back tonight. Not the way I expected it to end. And I look at that as a good thing. I think that's a good thing because it keeps us guessing until next week. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Why did AJ do what he did? I don't know. You have to tune in to find out. But I think what's going to end up happening here is it's going to be a case where AJ is going to say, look, maybe he blames LA Knight for not, giving him the assist when he got taken out initially. But I think it's going to be a case where that spot, those 2 spots that LA Knight got, were spots that were supposed to go to AJ Styles. It should have been AJ and John Cena teaming up against Jimmy and Solo at Fastlane. But he got taken out, and Knight stepped in, took advantage of that. And then he went to Crown Jewel. He went to Saudi Arabia. He got the shot against Roman Reigns. That's a spot that AJ Styles should have been in. In fact, I was saying that before they did the injury angle, that the match in Saudi should be Roman and AJ. But instead it was LA Knight. So I'm sure he's pissed off about that. I don't know why he would be because he got taken out, but they'll have to explain that on TV. But I think it'll have something to do with that. And I don't look at it as a heel turn. You can't turn AJ heel. You can't turn AJ heel. He attacked Roman. He attacked the Bloodline. He's going to get a match at some point with Roman Reigns. It makes no sense to turn him heel. But him playing kind of a lone wolf type character, like he did in TNA many years ago, him playing, the tweener role on the show, I think is perfectly fine. If anything, it makes things a little more interesting with him. And now the only question is it going to be AJ Styles and Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble? Or is it going to be Randy Orton and Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble and they save AJ for Elimination Chamber? They're interchangeable. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you want to do AJ at the Rumble and Orton at Elimination Chamber, fine. They already teased Orton and Roman at the Rumble. So I would think that's the match they want to deliver. But Orton and Roman at Elimination Chamber is a huge match. And you could do AJ and Roman. I think they do a triple threat. I think that's what we're going to end up with. I think on TV, they'll do a big main event on SmackDown sometime within the next 3 weeks, let's say 4 weeks. Roman is going to defend against Orton, AJ, or LA Knight. Whoever wins a 3-way match, they get the shot at the Royal Rumble. That's where I think they're going with this. And all 3 men can stake their claim, right? Randy says, look, 18 months I sat out because of this guy. I want Roman Reigns. LA Knight can say, look, I got fucked out of the title at Crown Jewel. If anybody's taking this guy out, it's me. And AJ can say, look, I got put on the shelf too. Maybe not as long as Randy did, but it should have been me facing Roman. I want my shot. They can all stake their claim. And it keeps things interesting between now and the Royal Rumble because we still have 6 weeks, probably. I guess it's best 6 weeks until the Royal Rumble, right? You got to keep things interesting somehow. So it's good to see AJ Styles back finally. I mean, you look at the roster now they have on SmackDown. If Roman is going to be around a little more often, we just got Randy Orton back. We got AJ Styles back. You've got LA Knight. He's still in that main event mix. Logan Paul, he's not on television every week, but they're doing this tournament. We're getting some good matches out of it. So they got a good thing going at the moment on SmackDown. I said this the other night for the Raw review. I thought Raw was a very good show this week. And I said, this time of year in the past, when you get to December, it's very hit or miss. Especially when they don't have a pay-per-view. They used to have the TLC pay-per-view in December. They don't even have that now. There's this huge gap until the Royal Rumble, which I'm okay with. The problem is in the past, they just sort of coast. And they phone it in. Right? It's the holidays. We'll get back to it in the new year. But if you're watching these shows week to week, 3 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Friday, I don't want to sit here if they're going to phone it in and have to watch this shit. Right? I want them to put their best foot forward. Just because it's December doesn't mean that you should phone it in. They didn't phone that show in on Monday, and they didn't phone it in tonight either. They've been putting out some good shows lately. So I like seeing that because it wasn't always the case this month. You get to this time of year, and it's like, oh boy. Things kind of slow to a crawl. Now, WWE is actually giving their talent the week off. They have a live Raw on Monday. And starting Tuesday through Christmas Day, Triple H and Nick Khan are giving the roster off for the holidays. That's why they're taping tonight's episode of SmackDown, or rather next week's episode tonight. So next Friday's episode is either already taped or it's in the middle of being taped as we speak, because there are no shows next week. And the first show back is going to be December 26th. So the day after Christmas, they have their usual post-Christmas house show in Madison Square Garden. They've just added CM Punk against Dominic Mysterio on that show. I think that's they're billing it as Punk's return to MSG for the first time in 9 years. They're also doing CM Punk against Dominic a few days later in Los Angeles at the Kia Forum. So I have a feeling they're getting Punk prepped for a match on TV against Dominic in January. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see them add that to that New Year's episode of Raw. Either that or the week after. We get Punk and Dominic on TV because they're working together. You know what I mean? Like it's like, let's work out the kinks here before we put this match on TV. But as far as next week's show, this is what they have announced so far. We have the 2 tournament matches. Kevin Owens against Carmelo Hayes. We have Bobby Lashley against Santos Escobar. I think Owens beats Hayes. And then Lashley and Escobar. You know, Lashley and Escobar is a little harder to call, honestly. Because Escobar is really the one who's in the middle of that big heel push right now. Yeah, it almost doesn't matter. I think either way, whoever it is going to lose to Owens in the finals. I mean, they're not going to do heel against heel at the Royal Rumble. So really, they're just fighting to find out who comes in as the runner-up. I think it's Escobar. I think we end up with Owens and Escobar in the finals if I had to make a prediction. We have Dragon Lee defending his NXT North American Championship against Butch. And they're doing a Holiday Havoc 8-woman tag. It's going to be Bianca, Shotzi, Zelina, and Michin against Damage Control. And I would imagine we'll get a promo at least from AJ Styles. Find out why he did what he did to LA Knight. So that is the lineup for next week. Solomonster sounds like my supervisor. Just because it's December doesn't mean you should phone it in. That's right, you lazy ass. Get back to work. Just because it's December doesn't mean that work stops. I'd make a great supervisor. 85% of you have given SmackDown a thumbs up for tonight. 14.6%. Look at that. It's changing in real time. 14.5% thumbs down. But 85% up is a hell of a score for SmackDown. I think that's even better than Raw got on Monday. So at Solomonster is where you can go and vote. Vote, vote, vote. Hey, Bobby's World, thank you for the gifted membership. And all the other people who I did not mention, I did see it, though. Thank you for the gifteds as well. If you would like to gift a random membership or 10 people on the channel here for the holiday season, you are certainly free to do so. I appreciate you very much for doing so. Let's take a look here at what you guys are talking about. DeAndre Kincannon. Actually, you know what? I want to kick off with Fire Panda. I did promise Fire Panda that I would mention the super chat that came in at the end of the stream on Wednesday that I did read, but she wanted me to make sure that I acknowledge it. It says that I feed everybody content like they are baby birds. I am the mother bird of the channel. I am. Keep everybody safe in my nest. DeAndre Kincannon, nearly 8 months later, I still don't see the benefit of Roman beating Cody at WrestleMania. Cody should have won. I say it, I get attacked. But you are correct. The real CSO2, we know WWE likes to have big matches on TV for eating gas. Eating gas? What the hell does that mean? Do you think it would be stupid to blow off a punking Cody on free TV instead of a PLE? Of course, yes. That would be incredibly stupid. You save that for a pay-per-view. You do not give that match away on television. He says for ratings. Okay, yeah. Why did it? So that, okay, that makes sense. I was like, we know WWE likes to have big matches on TV for eating gas. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And then he follows up and says for ratings. What kind of autocorrect is that, by the way? Were you talking about eating gas in a separate, like, text message with somebody? That is a very bizarre autocorrect. He also says, my fear is that with Roman only being 275 days away from breaking Hogan's first run as champion, they are going to have him beat Cody again. No. Roman Reigns is going to lose at WrestleMania. All this talk about Hogan in September and 1,400 days, it's all noise. It means nothing. Lakers Pats, I wish I was putting Liv in handcuffs as well. Yes, for those who did not hear the news, Liv Morgan was arrested yesterday in Florida. Of course, Florida, right? Where's the Bugs Bunny gif when you need it? Why is Florida still a part of the U.S.? But yes, in Florida, Liv Morgan was arrested on marijuana possession. And she was released on bond, and she is due back in court on February 12th. That is all we know. It was marijuana possession, I think, of 20 ounces. She was pulled over with 20 pounds of marijuana. I think it was 20 ounces or less, but they also found her with a form of synthetic marijuana. I don't know if it's that K2 stuff or some other, I don't know. But anyway, that's Florida, everybody. That's Florida for you. Liv Morgan's going to be just fine. I wouldn't worry about her getting in too much trouble. Lady Fire Panda, that damn MJF, I bet he planted, I'll bet RVD would like that 20 pounds of marijuana, wouldn't he? Fire Panda says, that damn MJF, I bet he planted that weed on Liv. He is the devil confirmed. She was hanging out with him this week at the Iron Claw premiere. They were taking pictures together. 20 pounds. Well, she is a tiny woman. Yeah, 20 pounds of weed for Liv Morgan. I think it might kill her. Wildbird, WWE, NXT, Impact, New Japan, and other promotions acknowledge times have changed and women's pro wrestling is rising. Women's pro wrestling has been rising for several years now. Wildbird says Mercedes needs to stay the hell away from AEW. Now, I have a feeling she feels the same way. I think she ends up back in WWE, working for Triple H and not the Irish Sea Monster. Bobbert, thank you again for the $30. I appreciate that very much. ABK, what can I say? ABK, I acknowledge you, sir. A $411 super chat from ABK. I mean, as much, it's like just getting up and getting a morning cup of coffee. He just drops a bomb on us here, right? As easy as it is to just go and fix his first pot of espresso for the day, right? We'll wake up in the morning, we'll take a piss, we'll go, we'll fix ourselves some coffee, we'll cook up some eggs, we'll drop a bomb on everybody and just go about our day. He is amazing. Holiday 197. Hey Solo, do you think they will do a fatal four-way at the Royal Rumble between Roman, Orton, Styles, and Knight? I do not. I think we're going to get a triple threat. If I had to predict, I think we're going to get a triple threat in advance of the Rumble to crown a number one contender, and that is how they will decide who challenges. Tay the Savior, Mello, Waller, KO, and Theory cooked tonight in the U.S. tournament. Yeah, they all had a good night, but no one, I think, more so, honestly, than Theory. I think Theory looked the best out of all of them. Theory and then Mello. Wildbird, I have an AEW prediction that will piss off a lot of people. I predict that Nick Nemeth will be the AEW World Champion before Swerve Strickland in 2024. I will predict that you are wrong. How do you like that? Chris Miner, that like button is mouthing off again. Well, you know what to do. You know what to do when that button starts mouthing off to you. You give that like button a good smack. There you go. We're at 382. We're still behind. 400 is the goal. We still need 18 more. The Sheriff of Patties. If they indeed take the title off Roman at WrestleMania, how do you see that finish going down? How does Cody finally pull it off? Also, I miss RSPW Rewind. So do I. I think you'll have your standard Bloodline involvement. You know, whether or not somebody else comes out, is it a parade of other baby faces? They kind of already did that this year. If you remember, Owens and Zayn got involved. They fought off the Usos. Solo got ejected and then just came back out. Gave him the spike anyway. And that's how they ended WrestleMania. So I think it'll be something similar where we'll see the Bloodline getting involved, trying to help Roman. See, the thing is, like, it's hard to predict what the Bloodline situation will be with Solo come Mania. Are they going to tease dissension within the Bloodline heading into the show? Is that going to be the night where Solo finally says, you know what, enough? Maybe there's a miscommunication. Roman gets up in his face. He starts mouthing off to him. And Solo is like, you know what? Fuck this guy. And he walks out on Roman. Because I always pictured it when Roman finally loses the title is when he loses Solo. And he doesn't have Solo there. Like, he literally went on television tonight and said, this man is our next tribal chief. And he hugged him in the middle of the ring, right? He has built everything around this man. And when he loses Solo, that's when it's truly over for him. Because now he has no one else to turn to. So maybe there's something that goes down involving Solo Sikoa during that match where Solo, he leaves. And now Roman has nobody to help him. Nobody to help him keep his title. And Cody wins the match. It'll probably be 3 crossroads. He'll plant him with his finish, and he'll pin him. And we'll have a new champion. Bobbert, thank you for the 32. Mikey S.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa Bro.
And Samoa Bro. Mikey S. Hey, Solo, just want to show some love. Been listening since 2013. Never miss a podcast or a review. Keep up the great work, brother. Mikey, thank you very much, sir. You got a big podcast coming up on Sunday. I got a lot to say about this whole WWE Warner Brothers Discovery CM Punk situation. That'll be the top story coming up on episode 839. So make sure you tune in for that on Sunday. I know Mikey will be tuned in. DEH Sires. Crazy that we might get Sasha versus Julia in WWE and not in Japan. Would you do that as Julia's debut match at WrestleMania? Sasha challenging her. All right, so let's... there's a lot of fantasy booking going on here. So let's pump the brakes on this Julia stuff. Because as I understand it, Julia can't go anywhere anyway until at least March. I don't know that Julia is going to WWE. Okay, I'm not saying she won't, but if Julia goes to WWE, she's going to NXT. So anybody thinking that Julia's going to come in and she's going to be at WrestleMania, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. That's not going to happen. Okay, if she comes in, she's going to NXT. Now, as far as Sasha and Julia happening in WWE, we live in a world now where, yes, that could very well be the case. And how bizarre would that be? Think about where we were at the beginning of this year and where we are now. It's amazing how in less than a year, how much things could change. This has been a crazy year. I was looking over some of the top stories of the year. I've been keeping, notes all year long on the top stories. So when we get to the year in review on Christmas Eve, I'll do the top match countdown and we'll talk about the top stories of the year. There's been so many of them, and I was looking at it, like, just the crazy amount of shit that has gone on this year. A lot of it involving CM Punk, but not all of it. It's ridiculous. And it makes me wonder, what are we in for in 2024? The craziest may not be behind us yet. The craziest may be yet to come. Hey, Barry, thank you for the $5. Remember that time Samoa Joe stole Kurt Angle's clothes and Kurt attacked Shark Boy for smiling about it? I don't remember that at all. Now I kind of want to see it. I obviously missed that in TNA. I don't remember that at all. DEH says, would you do Cody number 1 and Punk number 2 in the Royal Rumble? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Thing is, though, they did that already. Did they do that? No, they didn't do that this year. No, they did Gunther at number 1. Gunther was there at the end. Cody came out at 30. That was stupid, by the way. That I wouldn't have done. I would have had Cody at least come out at 27 or something. Not send him out there at 30. Cody at 1, Punk at 2. Yeah, I think I would consider doing that. I think the key more so than that, though, is the two of them being in there at the end. Whether they're the final 2 or they're in the final 4, it's more important to have them in there at the end than it is to have them in there at the beginning. Paul Carpenter, reach for the pie, boys. Briscoe FTR had a banger. Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing that. I know they had a tribute match tonight on the Final Battle pay-per-view, tribute to Jay Briscoe. I believe it was Mark Briscoe and FTR against Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, and Claudio. And I believe that would have been Bryan Danielson's first Ring of Honor match since, God, what, 2009 probably? First time Jon Moxley has ever had a Ring of Honor match at all. Arabian Night 2000 with Charlotte out. This is an opportunity for someone to step up. And should we get a couple of NXT call-ups like Roxanne and Tiffany after the Rumble? I don't think Roxanne's coming up yet, but Tiffany Stratton, I could see that. Tiffany Stratton, if not after the Rumble, because she could be in the Rumble, right? Don't they sometimes have one or two NXT women in the Women's Rumble? If not after the Rumble, then I think coming out of WrestleMania, we can see Tiffany Stratton get called up. And don't forget, we might have a draft again in May, and so they may want to save some call-ups for May. That's what they did with Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller got called up during the draft. Arabian Night, do you think Julia's hard-nosed style better suits AEW? Look, anybody who works a stiffer style, that style will go over better in AEW. If they come to WWE, they're going to have to tone it down. And I'm sure she'd be willing to do that if she wants to work in WWE. She'll tone it down. I mean, look, go back and look at some of Asuka's work in Japan, right? I mean, if you work a tougher style like that, you just have to accept that it's going to be different in WWE. Her style would work better in AEW. But she may be perfectly content to go to WWE and just adapt her style if she feels like she has a better chance of becoming a bigger star there, if there's more talents there that she would want to work with. I don't know what's going through her mind. But this idea that if Julia signs, she's going to immediately be, thrusted into the main roster in a main roster spot, I think is foolish. I think some people are assuming a lot about the WWE audience even knowing who she is. Nobody in the WWE audience is going to know who she is. That's number one, okay? So if they put Julia up on the screen and she came out on Raw or SmackDown, I mean, remember when Kyrie returned in Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel? No reaction, right? That would be the reaction for Julia. So if they sign her, it's not a matter of we got this big star that everybody knows. It's like hitting Cult of Personality at Survivor Series. You're going to get a big reaction. No, they would be signing her because they know that she is one of the best female performers in the entire world. She is going to have to go to NXT first to learn about camera angles, where the hard camera is. Here's how we do things here, right? It's not that, that she needs training. She needs WWE training. She's going to have to be taught how things work in this company. It's going to be a culture shock for her in a lot of ways. I would be stunned if they just immediately put her on the main roster. It would shock me if they did. So I think, again, people need to temper their expectations here. If they think that if she signs, she's going to be immediately on SmackDown joining Damage Control. It's not going to happen. The real CS says he was typing way too fast, and that's why it said eating gas. I don't know, I kind of like eating gas better. DEH says, favorite theme that a jobber had. Mine is Deuce and Domino. Mine is Rob Conway. Remember Rob Conway's theme on Raw? Just look at me. Ain't I a sight to see? Still got that song stuck in my head. Lady Fire Panda with the $20 super chat. All we need to do is slap your face on a picture on Big Bird and boom, we have the Mother Bird Monster super chat. Yeah, let's not do that. Tay the Savior Solomonster, do you think Monday Night Raw will land on WBD? I'm going to save all the discussion of that for the podcast on Sunday. I will be getting into great detail about that on Sunday. And Rizzo, the Vince sent Russo to WCW. Wait, what? The Vince sent Russo to WCW to destroy it from within conspiracy is going to be topped by Triple H sent Punk to AEW to ruin it. Yeah, that'll be the new modern day conspiracy. It was all a ruse, right? Is that what people are saying? Anis, any possibility, even the slightest, that Roman holds the title until next few WrestleManias? A new subscriber here. Anis, thank you. Is there a possibility the next few WrestleManias? No. Is there a possibility they could keep the title on him until WrestleMania 41? Slight possibility. WrestleMania 42 and 43 and breaking Bruno's record? Absolutely not. Andre Johnson, who do you think Solo should face at WrestleMania? I think it should be either Randy Orton or John Cena. If John Cena can work the show, it's going to be John Cena against Solo. Randy Orton against Solo would also make sense, but so would Randy Orton against Nick Aldis. I think there's a story there they could tell. Get Aldis a WrestleMania match. You know the guy's been dying to wrestle in WWE for years. Him being able to go out there and wrestle Randy Orton at WrestleMania would be like a fucking dream come true for him, I'm sure. Mark Kwan, I hope people aren't assuming Rumble number 30 is going to always be a return or a debut. I think people are kind of conditioned to it, even though if you look back at the history of the Rumble over the last 10 years, that really hasn't always been the case. Remember poor Rey Mysterio in 2014? Was Rey Mysterio was number 30, wasn't he? I just remember he got booed. He didn't even do anything wrong. It wasn't his fault. Wildbird, I have been fined by Bryan Danielson for ordering him steak, ribs, burgers, and buffalo wings to his locker room. I see a lot of people are getting fined by Bryan Danielson tonight with that $5 super chat. Dan Richards, when WWE stars go away for a while, they always come back enhanced. Men and women just inject different substances to enhance their look. I did notice when Cora Jade showed up on the NXT show last weekend, she looked a little enhanced. I think you're onto something here. But yeah, Randy Orton comes back. Looks as good as he has in years. AJ Styles comes back. He's also, right, mid-40s, comes back. Fucking six-pack this guy has. I guess all that time off, you know, they have nothing else to do but train and work out. Groovy Goose, will there be yet another Kofi spot this? I hope not. You know what? He's botched it enough times now. We need to just keep that spot dead and buried. The Kofi spot jumped the shark 5 years ago. We don't need to see it anymore. How many times has he botched it now? Twice? Yeah, I think we need to leave that be. And DEH Sires has a super chat coming in. CM Punk, the true domino effect from Shoot Promo 2011 to Colt Cabana Podcast, Brawl Out, Punk's WWE return, if WBD gets Raw, and the Bucks not wanting to do business. So he calls that the CM Punk domino effect. You just named all of the big CM Punk things from his career. I don't know if I'd call that a domino effect. Those are certainly some of the highlights and lowlights of his career, but I don't know about domino effect. But you know, well, again, I'll wait until Sunday. We'll talk about the WBD stuff on Sunday. We'll wait until then. But the goal for Be the Booker tonight was 400, as it usually is, and I am happy to say that we are currently at 426. And so you know what? We fell short on Wednesday. I was very disappointed, but we did hit the goal tonight, so let's get to Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time
happy
to
day.
Be the Booker.
Oh, happy day. It is time for Be the Booker. That which we did not get on Wednesday, we get tonight here on a Friday. I knew we would. I knew we would. The AEW streams tend to be a little, on certain weeks anyway, tend to be a little less active than the WWE streams. So let's go ahead and kick things off here. Got some tag teams to select. I know you guys have been waiting since Monday for another edition of this. So let's begin here with the Big Boss Man and Akeem. Look at Akeem, everybody. This was one of those 1980s gimmicks that WWE would absolutely never in a million years be doing today in 2023. But there he is, Akeem the African Dream. Unbelievable. And if you didn't know that he was from Africa, you would know because on the back of his attire was a picture of the continent of Africa. And I believe it said Africa, in case you couldn't tell where he was from. The Twin Towers. Going to be taking on Veer. No, wait a minute. What's going on here? I was about to say Veer and Sanga, and I think B the Booker said, yeah, that's not happening. So we actually landed on the Powers of Pain. The Twin Towers and the Powers of Pain. That's a classic 1980s wrestling big man match there. I know it's not all about work rate. I grew up on matches like that. Plus, you get to see Akeem during the match doing the dance. Akeem had this special dance that he would do. I give that the bell. You don't like it? Tough shit. Triple threat time. Is it triple threat or is it fatal four-way? I don't know. We got some stipulations in here. Let's see what we land on. Women's Be the Booker. We begin with Carmella. Multiple-time women's champion. Still out. Just had a kid not that long ago. Unfortunately, she's dealing with a nerve issue in her foot where she has no feeling in her foot. Hopefully she can get back the feeling in her foot because it's kind of hard to wrestle if you got no feeling in your foot. Just ask Kerry Von Erich. Carmella. And she is going to be going one-on-one with Timeless Toni Storm. I love me some Timeless Toni Storm. One of my favorite gimmicks at all of wrestling today. Timeless Toni Storm. I can't wait until Jamie Hayter comes back and we get Jamie Hayter against Timeless Toni Storm. There you go. Now we go to the men for the main event. Men's Be the Booker. I'm feeling good about this, man. 3 for 3. It's coming. It's coming. Or not. JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield, is our first pick in Men's Be the Booker. Well, this is going to come down to the opponent here. Who's it going to be? JBL against who? I don't know. Let's all find out together. JBL against the immortal Hulk Hogan. Look at that winged eagle. I mean, forget Hogan. Just look at the title, man. That's why I got that over my shoulder on my wall here. It's the best title still to this day. Right there. Right there. The classic winged eagle. I love it. Hulk Hogan against JBL is just another one of those matches that I could see as a young wrestling fan. Hogan, yeah, he would step into the ring with a lot of various heel opponents, right? King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, Paul Orndorff, Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, JBL. I could see it. 3 for 3. How do you like that? 3 for 3. I should have given it a bell just for the winged eagle alone. That's what we get for not doing one on Wednesday. We go 3 for 3 tonight. Dan Richards says, will Austin Theory ever find his rapper gimmick? his Doctor of Thugonomics phase. He might actually be interesting then. Dan, thank you, though. I appreciate it. Groovy Goose says, according to Hogan, JBL stole his limo for his entrances. Well, you know, according to Hogan, he was going to come out in a limousine back in the day, but Vince McMahon said no. He nixed the idea. Otherwise, it would have been him. Yeah, I think Hogan should come out with a book. I mean, he already came out with a book. It's, you know, in the fiction section of most bookstores. But he should come out with a book. He should just embrace it. And he should come out with a book, The Many Lies of Hulk Hogan, and take all of them and just put them down in book form. He would make a fortune. He would make a fortune off of it. I would buy a copy of that just to read it here on the podcast. Oh, man. Well, this has been fun. I hope you've enjoyed your time here on the stream, including all of our new subscribers. Just broke in their first edition of Be the Booker. Next time I'm going to be live is going to be on Monday. That will be the final live Raw. I'm pretty sure the Christmas episode is being taped on Monday. I don't know what the taping schedule is. But Raw will be live on Monday, and so will I, when Raw is over. And we'll see if CM Punk is on the show as well. If so, we'll see what they have him doing. Of course, they're really building to the New Year's edition of Raw. They're going to have Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight title on that show against Drew McIntyre. But I believe on Monday, they are doing Gunther against The Miz. They're having their rematch, I believe, this Monday for the Intercontinental title. And the stipulation is that if Miz loses, he can never again challenge for the title so long as Gunther is the champion. So it looks like Miz will not be able to challenge for the title for a while, because he ain't winning on Monday. So that's when I'll be live with you again. But first, episode 839 of the full podcast is going to be dropping on Sunday on all the usual audio platforms. We have a lot to talk about. Not only do we have Charlotte Flair gone for the next 9 months with an injury, we also found out that Kenny Omega is now out indefinitely in AEW. He unfortunately is in the hospital right now. He is dealing with a case of diverticulitis, which is what almost killed Brock Lesnar many years ago. I think he had to have surgery. He had like a foot, I think, of his intestine surgically removed. Even the Beast himself was taken down by diverticulitis. Thankfully, he's okay now. So I don't know how serious or severe it is in Omega's case. It could be a situation where he doesn't need surgery and he'll be okay in a few weeks. It could be a little more complicated than that. I don't know. But he himself tweeted that he is out indefinitely, which means probably no tag team title match at World's End, which is what they just announced on Wednesday. That would be my guess. If this guy's in the hospital, if he's so bad off that he had to go to the hospital and he's laid up in the hospital with diverticulitis, he's not wrestling at the Nassau Coliseum. So, but that would explain why he just seemed so out of it on Wednesday. That entire segment was just fucking terrible. And Omega was flubbing his lines. He looked like he didn't even want to be there. Apparently he was in pain the entire time, which, I mean, so was I watching that segment, but evidently not the kind of pain that he was in. So hopefully he'll be okay too. Diverticulitis is no joke. I have not experienced it myself. I know people who have, and especially if it's not treated right away, it is a very serious thing. Anyway, check out 839 on Sunday. I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be well, stay safe, and I will see you back here live for the Monday Night Raw recap right here on YouTube coming up on Monday. Until then, thanks for the love. I'll see you then. Take care, guys.